New state-of-the-art court headquarters soon operational. Good evening, I am Faida Ngaga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online. Also, get all the latest news through Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. Global markets have slumped today after President Donald Trump announced a major round of tariffs on U.S. imports. Various countries, including some African countries, have reacted swiftly to the new levies. A significant escalation of trade tensions with the United States, while some big economies warn of retaliation. The U.S. president has insisted for weeks now that he would impose what he calls reciprocal tariffs on allies and adversaries. But the tariffs announced yesterday were far higher than experts had expected and are likely to drive up prices and affect the global economy, Tanzania included. Now, to discuss further on its impact and way forward, we are joined live in the studio by international affairs expert and advocate of the High Court, Novatus Igosha. Novatus, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, Trump says his taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, and therefore the tariffs are going to do good to the American economy. Is this the right justification?
I think I'd like to give three interpretations before I directly join about the tariffs. On the field of international relations, there are three concepts. Number one is unipolarity. That was conceptualized by Robert Gilpin. And number two is bipolarity, which was conceptualized by Kenneth Waltz. And number three is multipolarity, which was framed by Samuel Huntington. Now, if you look at Trump's political character during the campaign with Joe Biden, later on with Kamala Harris, and after assassination attempts and later on he wins the presidency, he comes with what we call America First doctrine, which puts him as a revenant in American philosophical concepts of leadership. He's halfway Andrew Jackson, a little bit Ted Roosevelt, and somehow Ronald Reagan. Now, in the concept of tariffs, Trump has been saying for decades, Americans have been ripped by other countries in unfair trade practices, especially trade imbalances from the People's Republic of China, some American allies like Japan and South Korea, and now is the time to impose tariffs. However, if you impose tariffs, you are going to de-escalate the economy in terms of its performance, because these countries would also impose counter tariffs. And what does that mean? The American consumer will face fluctuation of prices. And number two, the American economy will slow down, because in multipolarity, it's not only America going to depend on itself. It depends on the larger Western alliance, NATO, the European Union, and of course, its northern neighbor, Canada, and of course, Mexico. And it also depends on the rest of the world. But in a situation like this, Trump comes in what we call the MAGA mantra, to believe that America is still the hegemonic power that can stay on the top of the world, then push everybody else to follow its concepts. And what does it mean? This means a unipolar order is being decoupled. And if you remember, one of the most prominent experts of international relations is a Chinese expert called Zhang Weibeng, who said the world right now is in a multipolar order, where pole would mean center for power, where China is a civilization, the West is a civilization, and of course Russia and India are also rising up. Now, if you come back to the tariffs, they do not cause any benefits directly to any economy. On the world economy, it causes trade wars. It disrupts trade routes, and of course causes fluctuation of prices. And if prices go up, it is taxpayers that are going to suffer. And in this case, it includes American taxpayers.
Now, in this situation, what can African countries do to minimize the impact?
Number one, I think Africa needs to brace itself, because in America first, Trump advocates for every economy to abdicate for its own solutions. Now, in order for Africa not to suffer diplomatically, number one, we need to continue to engage the United States. This is the world's largest economy. We can do it by inviting the U.S. Foreign Secretary, Marco Rubio, who understands the relationship between nations in this Westphalian system, which had risen since 1945 after the creation of the United Nations and the Bretton Woods institutions, including the IMF, the World Bank, and the list of the strong frameworks that came after. However, we need to diversify by engaging with other strong economies that are our partners, like Japan, the European Union, and of course China. But it's also a fundamental time to be able to find strategic solutions for the future. We've got minerals here, which is the leverage. You can consider a small country like Qatar, for example. Right now, it's investing in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, like $2 billion US, in order to get this kind of strategic minerals. But they are also collecting gold reserves. We do not know, after 4 years of Trump leadership, what would be the status of the US dollar in the global economy. So African countries need to diversify to continue to engage with the United States, but after a certain period of time, to find solutions that we can stand on our own frameworks, especially by building industries, by investing in human capital, but at the same time finding a voice by using the African Union as a leverage as far as our mineral resources are concerned.
So today I've been reading and watching other experts also talk about this situation, and most of them think that this probably signifies the end of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. What is your take?
My take, I don't think AGOA would end, but there could be a possibility it might face challenges because of the rising protectionist approach of the Trump administration. And therefore, African countries need to continue to engage the U.S. because AGOA is, first of all, a legislative act, but at the same time, part of the larger U.S. foreign policy as far as the relationship with Africa is concerned. My take, we need to have our own trade negotiation strategy between regional and the larger African continent in relationship with, as it relates to the U.S. economy.
But don't they already exist through like regional blocs like the EAC, SADC and all that?
They do exist, but right now you have to understand that Trump is what we call Trumpism era 2.0, as they call it in geopolitics. This is the era of classical geopolitics, where America, which is the sole leader of the free world, is very much transactional. So we in Africa need to understand it is time we find our own ways by using the leverage that we have. At the same time, invest in strategic partnerships with other partners, and of course, continuing to engage the Americans constructively and positively, regardless of what is the narrative that comes from the White House.
Thank you very much, Igosha.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
That was Igosha, an international affairs expert and advocate of the High Court. In other news, the Chief Court Administrator, Professor Elisante Olegabriel, says within 4 years of President Samia Suluhu Hassan's presidency, the government has invested 416.46 billion shillings, aiming to improve Tanzania's court infrastructure across the country. Here's a report by Ezekiel Fute, read to you by Caroline Maleo.
The judiciary is the third pillar of the state, and in order to carry out its duties, the pillar requires independent and adequate infrastructure to effectively fulfill its duty of interpreting laws and dispensing justice. The Chief Court Administrator, Professor Lisante Ole Gabriel meets journalists in Dodoma, explaining further progress that the court has made in infrastructure improvement in the last 4 years.
Approximately 67.5 billion Tanzanian shillings has been spent on the construction of 84 primary courts. Additionally, 21 district courts are under construction at a cost of 29.7 billion Tanzanian shillings.
He also elaborates on the urgent need to ensure adequate and proper housing for court staff.
Other projects include the construction of the Chief Justice Palace, which has costed 2 billion and 18 million, and the project is progressing well.
Professor Ole Gabriel expresses his satisfaction on the government's investment to ensure completion of the new court headquarters in Dodoma.
Furthermore, renovation are underway for the 2 high courts in the Tabora and Dodoma, with a total cost of 3.2 billion. As you know, there is also an ongoing project for the Judicial Services Commission headquarters, a 6-floor building. Additionally, the Judges' House project, which includes 48 houses, has been completed at a cost of 42.3 billion. Some judges have already moved into this residence.
President Samia Suluhu Hassan is expected to grace the official inauguration of the court headquarters building in Dodoma on April 6th.
As the race for the WHO Regional Director for Africa kicks off, the Tanzanian candidate for the position, Professor Mohamed Janabi, has put forward 7 agendas, including strengthening health systems, emergency health systems, among others. However, one of the agendas appears to hold special priority for Professor Janabi, and that is the reduction of maternal mortality rate. In an exclusive interview with TBC News, Dr. Ntuli Kapologwe, the Director General of the East, Central and Southern Africa Health Community, who is also the Director of Preventive Health Services from the Ministry of Health, elaborates on why this agenda is particularly significant.
Yeah, that's quite a very important agenda. As far as the maternal, newborn and child health is concerned, and in terms of the mortalities, one of the highest burdened region is the WHO Afro. Does contribute 70% of maternal mortalities globally and 50% of under 5 mortalities globally. So Professor Janabi wants to leverage on the Tanzania's expertise in terms of reduction of maternal mortality or experience in terms of reduction of maternal mortalities. We have witnessed 80% reduction in maternal mortality between 2015-2016 to 2022. In 2015-2016, we had a maternal mortality ratio of 556 per 1,000 live births, but now it has gone down to 104. And this was of the reason that our own president, Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, was awarded a Goalkeepers Award 2 months ago.
Doctor, with the raising concerns of communicable and outbreaks of diseases across the continent, how is Tanzania and indeed the region capable or prepared to deal with the situation?
Yeah, so one of the priorities again, which was presented by Professor Janabi in his manifesto, is combating the outbreaks and pandemics. We have had a very good lessons with COVID-19 pandemic. So we want to leverage on what happened from that one. So one of his priorities is to strengthen the surveillance system, the preparedness. When we talk about preparedness, we talk of early detection to disease, including strengthening laboratory services, but at the same time responding timely to outbreak and pandemics and recovery upon containment of the disease. So we believe with his vision and these priorities, then we can be able to really detect diseases early, responding and recovering while creating resilient healthcare system. And one of the very, very good example is when we had the Marburg virus disease outbreak in 2023 and 2025. We were able to respond timely with minimal casualties compared to some other countries.
March this year, the government reported the first case of Mpox disease in Tanzania. How has the government responded to the situation?
There has been a very strong system in place on to responding to through intensifying the early detection, intensifying the community healthcare system for early detection, but at the same time, making sure that all port of entries have all the needed facilities for early detection. With all these different interventions and approaches, we believe we'll keep the disease at the bay.
That was Dr. Ntuli Kapologwe, the Director General of the East, Central and Southern Africa Health Community. In other news, NORPART, which is a Norwegian program for global academic cooperation, is said to have benefited quality of higher education in institutions in the global south, including the University of Dar es Salaam, through academic partnerships and student exchange programs. This remark follows a special conference attended by a delegation of 10 media researchers from Norway, Uganda and Tanzania that aims at expanding horizons in journalism and media studies. Karen Maleo has more.
NORPART is a Norwegian program for global academic cooperation that aims at enhancing the quality of higher education in Norway and partner institutions in the global south, including the University of Dar es Salaam, through academic partnerships and student exchange programs. In Tanzania, the project has benefited the education and media sector, as it has so far funded 18 Tanzanian master's students from the University of Dar es Salaam on courses such as climate journalism, safety of journalists, investigative journalism, and media research, aiming to increase their efficiency in their works.
NORPART is NORAD funded. That's a Norwegian institution on behalf of the Norwegian government. And the idea is to strengthen relationships between different partner institutions in Africa and Norway. And we also build on joint research. So we have some ongoing projects where we do research with our colleagues here in Dar es Salaam and also at Makerere University in Uganda.
And so we are very grateful for the project. So far, we have had 18 scholarships from this project for master program at the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. And of the 18 students, 3 of them had an opportunity to do a full master program, and 15 as exchange program at OsloMet for 4 months.
So we have brought Norwegian students to come here to Tanzania, and they are part of a research project, and they're doing a course as a research assistant. So we are involving them in a research project about the media industry here and the use of social media platforms.
Furthermore, the delegation emphasizes the great need of publications in media research.
As a university, of any university, publication is a lifeline. You know, what you do, how do you disseminate it to your community, but just as well to the bigger community.
Publishing is very important, and you want, of course, your research fundings to get out there and to have an impact on the society, maybe on policies and politics, and not least to disseminate your findings, because most researchers would like to make an impact and maybe change a little bit in the society where they live.
On the other hand, students who have benefited from the project explain their experiences and the impact the project have had in their career.
The experience of being in an international class has just been amazing. It has been so meaningful, and honestly just learning so much, both about myself and other cultures, and yeah, just seeing other perspectives.
And it's been such a pleasure to have visiting students from Tanzania and Uganda in our class this semester. They've brought such a richness of perspectives and ideas and different points of view. These few days I've been here, it's struck me what a richness of cultural influences are in this country.
The program, which is a partnership project between Oslo Metropolitan University, the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Dar es Salaam, and Makerere University, focuses on various media research on areas such as media development, safety of journalists, media in war and crisis, investigative journalism, gender studies, digital media, and climate journalism. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Caroline Maleo, TBC News.
This week, China is honoring 70 Chinese experts who sacrificed their lives while constructing the Tanzania-Zambia Railway in the 1970s. The commemoration, which began on Wednesday morning, coincided with the Qingming Festival, a traditional Chinese occasion for paying tribute to the deceased and remembering ancestors. Here are more details.
Gracing the event, the Deputy Minister for Transport, David Kenzile, says the governments of Tanzania and Zambia continues to honor the utmost sacrifice that the Chinese constructors gave during the Tazara railway construction.
Tazara serves as the monument of the long-lasting friendship between the China, Tanzania and Zambia. This was first ever oversee a major project to be implemented by the Chinese government. It is high time for this generation to make sure that this desire and friendship is lasting forever.
Meanwhile, the Tanzania-Zambia Railway Authority Managing Director Bruno Chingandu applauds the dedication expressed by the Chinese workers, insisting that the commitment and dedication has made the railway's construction possible, benefiting many in the present time.
As we observe the Qingming Festival, we pay tribute to these fallen heroes whose contributions remain etched in our memories. As we commemorate their contribution, the spirit endures in every train that runs. The spirit endures in every ton of cargo that is moved.
On the other hand, chargé d'affaires of the Chinese embassy in Tanzania, Wang Yong, says the fallen heroes have left a legacy that continues to symbolize China-Tanzania and China-Africa friendship.
Last year in Beijing summit of the Forum on China-Africa cooperation, the three heads of states witnessed the signing of the revival of this important railway. So now the governments and the relative companies, they are working closely to implement the consensus reached by the leaders. I'm sure, this road, this railway, actually is not a transportation line. It will estimate the national growth and also strengthen the position of Dar es Salaam's position as a East Africa commercial and logistic hub. And also, it will bring more job opportunities, training opportunities, and the relevant commercial opportunities.
The year 2025 marks the 61 years of diplomatic relations between China and Tanzania, celebrating over 6 decades of enduring friendship, cooperation, and mutual development. Kanki Mwegomole, TBC News.
The Director General of the Tanzania Commission for Science and Technology, Dr. Amos Nungu, says research is vital for understanding, tackling and mitigating climate change as it provides evidence for decision-making, identifying solutions and monitoring progress. Dr. Nungu made the remarks during the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Tanzania Commission for Science and Technology, COSTECH, and the Swedish International Development Agency in Dar es Salaam, calling on researchers in the country to research more on climate change. Peter Mganga reports.
Following climate change impact becoming more evident across East African region, leading to unprecedented conditions like droughts, floods, rising sea levels, and changes in rainfall patterns. The Swedish development partners have expressed their support by allocating 10 billion Tanzanian shillings to encourage more in-depth research on climate change.
We signed a new agreement for 4 years on support to research development within COSTEC's umbrella. We will focus on 3 areas. It is about innovation research, climate research, and also communication in order to enhance research communication. This is not the first agreement we have signed with COSTEC. We have been cooperating for almost 50 years. So it's a beautiful way of continuing our cooperation, even though it is our final contribution after 50 years of cooperation.
The Director General of the Tanzania Commission for Science and Technology, Dr. Amos Nungu, explains how Tanzania's policy has enabled the acquisition of funds for the research.
Our research systems have been improved a lot, and we are still learning, we are still improving it. So we thank the government, because this could not happen if the conducive environment is not there. So we thank the government of Tanzania for putting down the conducive environment to enable partners such as SIDA to be able to work with the COSTEC. We pledge, to do our level best to make sure that, this support here is well deserved and we deliver according to what we promised.
The agreement between COSTEC and the Swedish International Development Agency will last for 5 years, while local researchers are mentioned as the key beneficiaries of the project. Peter Mganga, TBC News, Dar es Salaam.
The Attorney General's Office and the National Construction Council have signed a memorandum of understanding to forge cooperation in the construction sector. This partnership will focus on various aspects, including construction contract management and addressing challenges that require solutions. Speaking before the signing of the agreements, Attorney General Hamza Johari underscores the significance of the collaboration, which aims to provide legal framework and address legal issues, particularly in the areas of contract of agreements.
The aim of this memorandum of understanding is to provide an avenue for technical advice and expertise, training, consultation, knowledge sharing, apprenticeship program, contract management, claim management, practical experience, technical negotiation, and arbitration skills on construction sector in the country. We have realized that the construction's contract have got its own peculiarities. And due to that, it is very important for lawyers and construction experts to exchange knowledge.
On the other hand, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Construction Council, Matiko Mturi, says that the initiative will enable the council to add expertise and proficiency, especially on contract analysis.
With over 4 decades of experience in the construction industry since 1981, we have gained deep insights into the challenges that arise, particularly in contract management. That's why we see great value in having contracts vetted by Office of the Attorney General, ensuring fairness, transparency, and legal compliance.
The partnership is expected to yield a positive outcome and enhance expertise and knowledge in the legal area, particularly in construction industry and contracts management. And on that note, we are ending our news bulletin for tonight. I am Faitha Ngaga. Good night.
Dar es Salaam, jiji kubwa la kibiashara Tanzania.